Hello and welcome back to a special episode of CEDH Bling Build. Today we're going to go over a partnerless Prismatic Piper deck. I thought I had a Piper lying around my place somewhere. I can't find it, but there's no big deal because there'll be a million Prismatic Pipers at your local game store in the Commander Legends craps piles. So we're going to do a mono blue partnerless Prismatic Piper, suggested by subscriber MCmouthbreather. Thank you so much for making me do this ridiculous video. Because Prismatic Piper is just a colorless creature, but I think that it has an exception to the rule where you could name a color and it will be that color. So we can have him at the helm as our mono blue partnerless general. Now what makes this deck interesting is going to be ridiculously expensive bad deck. What makes it a bad deck is that, when evaluating a general, you want someone who has a really strong, powerful effect. For me personally, I really like the legendary creatures that are an infinite outlet from the command zone, because that's like the last piece of the combo, and it's boom right there, accessible from the command zone, and so it makes these combos a lot easier to assemble. A bad commander would be like something that doesn't really serve a purpose, like I don't want to, it's a touchy subject for some people. But yeah, so we're going to go into our Prismatic Piper, who has zero purpose in this deck. So there are going to be a lot of cards that you would see in other decks that are totally omitted from this particular build. Because even though it's a bad deck, I'm not going to make it as bad as I can. I'm still going to try to make it as efficient as I can. So when I put the beats on pods, they could cry and go home, instead of humping their Dakimakura, they could take a cold shower and cry about how they lost to a Prismatic Piper deck. With that being said, we're going to also kill two birds with one stone. We're going to go over and discuss a ton of blue combos. So this video should be friendly for the curious and the new player to EDH. And so if you're new here, there are going to be harsh criticisms, really harsh criticisms from some of the deck choices people make that, in my opinion, make no motherfucking sense. So let's get straight into it. We have Urza here as a stand-in for now until I get to my LGS and just find a Prismatic Piper in the garbage. And we're going to go over our first infinite engine. We have a Basalt Monolith and a Grim Monolith. And either one of these cards, when this aura power artifact is attached to them, will allow us to create infinite colorless mana. This card by itself is fine. This card by itself is this card by itself is a dead card. So it's probably why you don't see this card being used as often in 2022. Just so many new cards have been released since then that are way more efficient. Even though this is a reservist card with a hefty price tag, it's kind of fallen out of favor, not a good card anymore, just because without one of the other pieces and the outlet, right? Because you could assemble infinite mana, but then what? So it's a brick. Something that is not in this deck, but I thought I'd bring it up, is Palinchron and Deadeye Navigator combo. So for at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 400 mana, you can hard cast these things or whatever. I know you'll cast the Palinchron or untap the. I know, I'm being silly. But like, are you Yugi Moto that you have both these cards in your hand in a mono blue deck? Oh, you're not Yugi Moto. Oh, okay. So it's a bad combo. This is a brick. This is a brick. So even though it's an infinite colored mana engine, I think it's just bad. I think it's bad. Ergo, this is not in the deck. Whereas something that's way more mana efficient, we have an Isochron Scepter and a Dramatic Reversal. You, for those who are new, you imprint Dramatic Reversal, which is a 1 in a blue instant speed card spell, where you untap all non-land permanents. So between the Dorks and the Mana Rocks, if you can produce 3 CMC, 3 mana, hopefully one of those mana is mana of any color, then you're off to the races, because you'll pay the 2 and tap your copy of Dramatic Reversal to untap all non-land permanents. That includes this, and boom, just like that. Also remember that this ability is a cast, so you're casting, it adds to your storm count. Okay. Things we could do with the dramatic. Oh, and by the way, you know, the Dramatic Reversal Isochron Scepter is a way easier to find these pieces than those 2 creatures. Something we could do with the Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal, Dramatic Scepter, is we can copy artifact the. Hopefully you have the Dramatic Scepter in play. The copy artifact, it could copy, you know, any artifact. Who gives a shit? That's fine. But one way we could win from it is to copy the Isochron Scepter, and then imprinting some sort of like cheap instant that does something, like a lightning bolt or lightning helix, right? Something that will pew pew the board. If you have the CMC, the Dorks and the Rocks to pull this off, right? In this deck, we would use a Swan Song, okay? Because we're mono blue, and not as strong, because the swans, the birds that you produce from countering a spell, will have summoning sickness. So what do? We could get this combo online by, I think the way it works is you would counter your own spell, the Swan Song, untap everything, tap again to counter the Swan Song, untap everything, counter the Swan Song. So you would infinitely counter your own. Oh, you would infinitely counter I think the 1 spell that you cast, the 1 cantrip or the 1 whatever. And then you'll make your infinite birds, and then the next turn you'll swing with your infinite birds. Not amazing. Again, without the commander being an outlet for a lot of this infinite, these decks become lower tier. Another thing we could do with the infinite taps and untaps, taps and untaps, taps and untaps is we can use a card like Codex Shredder to mill everyone out. Hopefully pray to your god that they don't have a Titan in their deck, because then you are super screwed, because they're just going to shuffle up again. And so that's one opponent you won't be able to mill out. You would have to find another way to win, to beat that one opponent. Uh, Codex Shredder also provides some utility where you could pay 5 and tap to sack it to return a card from your graveyard to your hand. So we'll get back to this card in just a moment. Another thing you could do if you're infinite taps and untaps is draw the deck with something like Dramatic with Sensei's Divining Top, which is nice. Where's the shine? Hello, shine. Yuck, so dull. The top on itself, very good card. A little bit on the pricey side, I think. And not needed in every deck. Once upon a time, like every deck played a top, but again, it's another card that's fallen out of favor. But if you have ways to manipulate your top deck, whether it's holding your fetch lands or having a lot of tutors, yeah, the top is still fine. In a deck that shares the color black, you can have the top in combination of like a Ballista Citadel to make a kind of like makeshift janky ad nauseum. Another brick is an Aether Flux Reservoir. Once upon a time, every CEDH deck had this as a win con, but the card is very old and the combo is very bad. Works wonders with the Infinite Storm you have with the Ice-Crown Scepter Dramatic Reversal, and then you just pew everybody, all your opponents in their fucking mouth. But again, another combo that's fallen out of favor. I think it's a fine combo if you're new to the format and you want to build like a sweaty deck as best as you can on your budget. Ice-Crown Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, Aether Flux Reservoir are pretty cheaply priced cards. So, you know, maybe that's the trick, right? You want to build a sweaty deck on a budget, run old combos. Just run old combos. Another thing we could do with infinite mana, infinite colorless mana, we can Walking Ballista. It's another brick, but I don't mind it. In this deck, I have plenty of ways to tutor up artifacts, and so it's not as dead of a card for me in this deck. I wouldn't run it now in 2022 in a serious deck, but at least it could provide some utility to start finger banging like cheaply costed things. And so outside of a combo, I could still play like a Walking Ballista. It's not too horrible. We have Capsize, which is another card which is fine as like a jank spot removal. But if you have access to infinite colored mana, infinite blue, then you can capsize your opponent's board. Everything, lands, everything, because you'll pay the cost, you'll pay the buyback, and do it again and again and again. Your opponent should concede at that point, unless they're brain dead and they want to play through it, which at that point you just continue to generate your infinite blue mana. They play a land, you bounce it, and you look at them like they have brain damage or something. But I'll keep the capsize as a win condition. Most people normally would concede if you capsize them to death, unless they have brain damage. So keep that in mind. They are allowed to play through it. I would probably curse them out and just call them stupid, and just when the other two opponents concede, then I would concede, knowing damn well that you have the win. Just let them walk away with their stupid incel ego. A Blue Sun Zenith for X and triple blue, which is problematic. You can't search it out with a Spell Seeker, but you'll draw X cards and you'll shuffle it back in. Perfect if you have infinite blue mana, because what you'll do is you'll first draw your whole deck, exactly your deck. This will go back. You'll play like a cantrip to get it back. You'll make an opponent draw their entire deck, like draw infinite cards. This will go back in the deck. You play a cantrip, get it back, and then rinse, wash, repeat. Make the next opponent draw their infinite cards. This will go back in the deck. You play a cantrip, and again and again and again. So we have the Time Twister. I'll just move the Time Twister aside for a second, because it's just ridiculously priced card. So as a stand-in, a card that is not in this particular build, because I own it, the Time Twister, a cheap alternative, which I guess isn't too cheap right now. I don't know how much Echo is going for, but Echo of Eons, we'll pretend it's a Time Twister, because it's functionally the same card. You'll never flash it back. Never, ever, 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 never flash it back. Okay, only out of desperation. But if you have access to infinite draw and infinite colored mana, you'll Echo of Eons, and it will go to the graveyard. Oh wait, well, sorry, you have to have this on board. You have to have your Codex Shredder on board, okay? And it's a way to just shuffle the graveyard back. Wait, what am I talking about? Sorry, just saying the name Echo of Eons hurt my brain, so I'm just so used to explains with the Time Twister. You'll have a Time Twister, and you have your Codex Shredder on board, okay? You'll Time Twister, you'll shuffle your graveyard and draw your 7, no big deal. The Codex Shredder will put the Time Twister back in your hand. But of course, you want to draw through your deck, whether through its an Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, or some other means. Tasigur, Thrasios, whoever. So once you have this loop, right, of replaying the Time Twister, drawing the deck, replaying the Time Twister, drawing the deck, replaying the Time Twister, you would use a card, again, like a swan song, to create an infinite army of birds. Or you'll, and at this point it's fine, because you'll just like keep a hand, you'll create your infinite birds and keep a hand of just like uncounterable madness, okay? Counter spells and things like that. In other decks, in other colors, you could just like Praetor's. I like Praetor's Grasp to just exile each opponent's library infinitely. You demonstrate that loop like once or twice. They should concede. You don't have to like individually Praetor's Grasp them to death. I guess a Lightning Bolt or something. Just infinitely, play the card, draw the deck, play the card, shuffle up, draw the deck. So we could do the same exact combo with a Time Twister and Narset's Reversal. So in this case, you'll play your Twister. And holding priority, you'll play the Narset's Reversal. Narset's Reversal copies a spell for 2 blue in an instant, and return the spell back to its owner's hand. So you play the Twister, copy it, it'll come back to your hand, and then you shuffle it in, draw the deck. If you have means to infinite mana, infinite draw. And so you have to establish that first before you do the Twister loops. But Twister loops is really, really a damn good combo, especially in these decks where the commander is like an infinite draw, because those decks usually already want to make infinite mana because they kind of go together like peanut butter and jelly. And we have Spellseeker because there are a ton of Spellseeker targets in the deck that are really, really important. We have a Tribute Mage, 2 CMC. We get our Grim Monolith or Isochron Scepter. Trinket Mage allows us to get our Codex Shredder, our Walking Ballista, so it's fine in the deck. And then for some utility, we have a Phantasmal Image, the brand new Ledger Shredder, a Gilded Drake to just take your opponents off their sweaty commanders that they depend on. And a handful of Planeswalkers. We have a Tezzeret the Seeker and a Narset partner, Bay of Veils. Narset's really good if you're doing Twister Loops because it's like a soft silence. Right? You do the Twister Loops, they're going to have that one card, and that's that. And then you can continue with your combos, no problem. No problem. Moving into our instants and sorceries, we'll start things off with our tutors. We have a War of Invention to get a plethora of important artifacts. Same thing with Reshape, and the more expensive Transmute artifact. And then we just tutor that up with Fabricate. Instants and sorceries, we have our Mystical Tutor, our Solve the Equation, are specifically blue instants with a Merchant Scroll. There are a ton in the deck. Muddle the Mixture, I guess it could be a counterspell, but for me it's a way more important, way more utility as a tutor. But it's a versatile card, so it makes the cut regardless. Speaking of counter magic, my Offer You Can't Refuse is in the mail, so it will replace the Spell Pierce. We have a Miscast, Flusterstorm, Dispel. Actually, maybe Offer You Can't Refuse does not replace the Spell Pierce in this deck. Or maybe it does. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to play test that. Because this is a slower deck without the commander being the outlet in the command zone, or without the commander being the other piece of a combo in the command zone. A lot of these combos are way more difficult to assemble, right? Because you have to put together you have to assemble the engine and have the outlet, and so that's a lot of cards that have to be in your hand, which is problematic. Which means it's a slower deck, and so Offer You Can't Refuse is a great card in a fast deck, but Spell Pierce is also a shit card in a slow deck because by the time you get this thing rolling, they're going to have the 2 extra CMC to pay to shut you down. So it's something I have to keep an eye out. And no Fierce Guardianship, because Fierce Guardianship isn't so free in this deck because the Prismatic Piper doesn't do anything. I'm not going to pay 5 CMC to cast it, so I have a free Fierce Guardianship. Like, the fuck? Delay. Mana Drain. The mana I produce from the Mana Drain can help pay for like an artifact combo or something. Mental Misstep, Force of Negation, Pact of Negation, and a Force of Will. And as a soft counter, we have a Misdirection, which is a really, really juicy card, in my opinion. In these mono blue decks, these decks that are not in ad nauseum. For our removal, we have Apongify, a Rapid Hybridization, Suspend, Resculpt. This is for the hard removal. Everything else, because we're in blue, is just like shitty bounce. But could be important. When we're ready to combo off, take the opponent off their stacks piece or something. We have a Chain of Vapor, Snapperino. Snap is really good with Dockside. We're not a red, but Snap could be a Dockside doubler, essentially. Winds of Rebuke. Winds of Rebuke is another neat card you could copy onto a Dramatic Reversal, copy artifact type of Ice-Crown Scepter copy artifact thing. Because we could just, I guess, put it on the stack infinitely to mill out everybody. We have a Cyclonic Rift. For free, we have a Submerge. Our draw package, we have OG Brainstorm, OG Ponder, OG Preordain, and OG Gitaxian Probe. And the Gush, because we have so many islands, we might as well get value out of that Gush. And a Windfall, just another wheel. So before we get into the rest, just remember that there's some notable exclusions, like a Thassa's Oracle and a Laboratory Maniac. Those cards by themselves are bricks. I can't even get a little bit of utility out of them. Whereas like a walking ballista, I could, finger bang things. So it didn't make the cut in this deck. I don't want bricks. You guys are crazy. You guys are fucking bricklayers. You guys be doing things like, oh, I didn't get a chance to play my combo, and wonder why. Like, come on. Keep the bricks out the deck. Yes, Thassa's Oracle is a phenomenal card, but without the Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation, it's a brick, bro. It just sits in your hand. Laboratory Maniac, it's a vanilla creature until you draw your deck. So it's a brick, bro. It's a 3 CMC brick. So, don't put these type of cards in your deck. And then for the rest, we have our enchantments. We have a Mystic Remora, Mystic Study, easy. For utility, we have a Sapphire Medallion and the Imposter Mech, a kind of new card. Let's see what it could do. I don't think it's going to do much. We have a Lotus Petal, Arkham's Astrolabe, because I have a shit ton of snow lands. If you're in a monocolor deck, run snowlands. There are more things you could do with snowlands than you can with just a plain old basic. Also, keep an eye out for like just snow pieces. I'd pick up all the snow pieces if you have the time. There are a ton of like really, really good snow cards. There's the Toxic Deluge for snow. There's the Arkham's Astrolabe, which could turn into a colored rock when I have the Dramatic Scepter Isochron reversal combo online. So just keep an eye on snow cards. There are a ton of snow cards that could be kit utility. I don't know from experience because most of my decks are in black, and because of Tainted Pact restrictions, I can't like abuse snowlands, right? The way I would want to. And then my only other deck that is like a monocolor deck is like blue things, and so there are not too many blue snow cards that are abusable. There's one more in this deck. We'll see. We'll see. We have an Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, Mox Diamond. For our colorless, we have a Mana Vault, Soul Ring, and a Mana Cryptorino. For the fetches, we have all 5 fetches. We have the Misty Rainforest, Scalding Tarn, Polluted Delta, Flooded Strand, and the Prismatic Vista. Don't forget your Prismatic Vista, very important. For the basics, we have 12 basic snow covered basic islands. Another interesting snow card is Mouth of Runam. It could punch something in the face for 4. It could punch an annoying stacks piece, a Hate Bear in the mouth for 4, which could be very, very important. It could be the cock blocker that's keeping you from going off. So interesting snow stuff, right? See, I'm not crazy. We have a Cephalid Coliseum, Otawara. We have a Seed of Synod. Just because like my transmute artifact, my reshape, I need to feed it an artifact. And so I could tap for the mana and feed it. You have an Urza Saga to help me find the teeny tinies that I need. And Adventurous Fair, again, to help me find pieces, recur pieces with Academy Ruin, Buried Ruin, Ancient Tomb for maxing out that mana. We have a City of Traders. Maybe I put in Mystic Sanctuary, but the only reason why I would run the Mystic Sanctuary is to recur, to get back like a lost Dramatic Reversal. That's the only card That's the only instant sorcery that I would try to need to find again if I lost it. So I'll test it out, see how it goes. But whatever. But we're trying to make this an overly expensive bad deck. And then finding the Gemstone Cavern makes any color, but if you can pull this off and be one turn ahead of your opponents, by all means, run the Gemstone Cavern. Absolutely, absolutely. And there you have it. You have the partnerless Prismatic Piper bad deck. Very bad, very, very bad. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions, of course, let me know. I'll be open to these suggestions. But don't get crazy. This is a competitive CEDH channel, so I can't build anything. It has to be like something sweaty, something you would find on like the CEDH database. You'll find the link to this deck in the description, but this is just a stupid meme deck. Don't be crazy. And yeah, enjoy the rest of everything. Ta-ta.